Welcome to Coins Quest, your ultimate destination for discovering the hidden treasures that might just be sitting in your pocket change right now, where we explore the fascinating world of rare coins, minting mysteries, and unbelievable stories that turn ordinary pennies into fortunes. And today's story takes us deep into the extraordinary tale of the 1973 no-mint Mark 1-cent coin from the United States that shocked collectors, experts, and treasure hunters alike when it was valued at a jaw-dropping $720,000 due to its unique combination of errors, striking anomalies, and production mysteries that make it one of the rarest and most valuable Lincoln Memorial cents ever to exist. A coin that proves even the smallest denomination in American currency can carry an incredible story of history, craftsmanship, and unexpected fortune. Imagine holding a single cent in your hand, an ordinary piece of copper-plated zinc or bronze that millions of people might have overlooked, tossed in jars, or spent without a second thought, only to discover that your coin is one of the most extraordinary mistakes the U.S. Mint ever released, worth enough to buy a luxury home or several high-end cars, because of rare minting errors and distinctive anomalies that separate it from the rest. The 1973 penny with no mint mark may appear at first glance to be just another Lincoln Memorial cent, featuring the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner on the obverse and the image of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse by Frank Isparo. But beneath its ordinary appearance lies an intricate web of production oddities, planchet variations, and die-striking mistakes that make it a numismatic masterpiece of rarity and mystery. The no-mint mark signifies that the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which in 1973 did not use a mint mark, but what makes this coin exceptional is not merely its origin, it's the series of minting errors, composition differences, and subtle but crucial imperfections that combine to make it one of the most desired coins in American numismatic history. Collectors and experts often talk about double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and die cracks as the hallmarks of valuable coins, but in the case of the 1973 no-mint mark penny, multiple factors intertwined to create a truly spectacular example of minting rarity. Some of these pennies were struck on bronze planchets left over from the pre-1982 era, meaning their metal composition differs from the standard copper-plated zinc that was introduced later, and in rare cases, transitional errors occurred where a planchet intended for a foreign coin or an earlier production run was mistakenly fed into the press, resulting in a coin with an incorrect weight, thickness, or metallic alloy. This difference alone can make a coin worth thousands, but when coupled with other visible errors such as double dies, misaligned dies, broad strikes, or die breaks, the value skyrockets to unbelievable levels. The most astonishing examples of the 1973 no-mint mark penny show signs of a double die obverse, where Lincoln's profile, the date, 1973, or the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," and "Liberty," appear slightly duplicated or shadowed, indicating that the coin was struck twice with a slight misalignment between strikes. These doubling effects are often visible under magnification and can vary in intensity, but the more prominent and well-defined the doubling, the higher the coin's value to collectors who prize visual clarity and rarity. Other specimens feature die cracks, fine raised lines caused by fractures in the die that transfer onto the coin's surface, sometimes forming dramatic patterns near Lincoln's face, neck, or the rim, giving the appearance of extra design elements that make each coin unique. Some coins display off-center strikes, where the design is not properly aligned with the planchet, leaving part of the design missing and the blank metal visible on one side, a visual anomaly that is both striking and desirable to error collectors. Even more rare are broad strike errors, where the coin was struck without the collar die in place, causing the metal to expand outward, resulting in a coin that is wider and thinner than normal but retains all its design elements. Each of these errors adds layers of intrigue and scarcity, but the most mysterious aspect of the $720,000 valuation comes from the small handful of coins that combine multiple errors, a double die, planchet composition error, and die crack all on one coin, a virtually impossible occurrence that makes it a once-in-a-lifetime find. Historical context adds to its mystique, as 1973 was a transitional year in coinage technology and production, with the mint experimenting with different alloys and adjusting die preparation techniques, which increased the chance of minting anomalies slipping through quality control. The Philadelphia Mint, producing billions of cents that year, would have had minimal capacity for inspecting each piece, allowing a few error-ridden coins to escape unnoticed into circulation. These mistakes would have seemed meaningless at the time, but decades later, as collectors scoured old rolls and coin jars, the discovery of these rare specimens turned ordinary people into instant owners of extraordinary wealth. Furthermore, the absence of a mint mark itself adds subtle charm, as Philadelphia coins were often overlooked compared to their Denver and San Francisco counterparts, making pristine examples with error combinations far rarer in high-grade condition. The value also depends heavily on grading, as a 1973 no-mint mark penny in mint state condition, especially MS-67 or higher, commands premium prices, and when that coin exhibits multiple minting anomalies, its worth can multiply exponentially. The sharpness of strike, luster, color toning, and the presence of full original details without significant wear all contribute to the eye appeal and thus to its valuation. Coins certified by top grading agencies like PCGS or NGC as genuine mint errors in superb condition have reached record-breaking prices at auction, some fetching over $500,000 and others projected to exceed $720,000 as demand grows and fewer pristine examples surface. Another intriguing aspect is the potential existence of experimental strikes or pattern coins, rare test pieces made during die setup or metal composition experiments that were never intended for public release but somehow escaped the mint, carrying small deviations like unusual rims, incomplete design impressions, or light planchet polishing lines. These coins are virtually untraceable in mintage records, which increases their mystique and value among advanced collectors who specialize in mint history. Additionally, environmental factors can affect surface coloration, and some of these coins display stunning natural toning in shades of red, brown, and blue, caused by oxidation over decades, which can further enhance aesthetic desirability and perceived uniqueness. The story of the 1973 no-mint mark penny worth $720,000 is not just about a coin, it's a reminder that history, chance, and craftsmanship intersect in the most unexpected ways, creating tangible connections to the past that continue to captivate generations. Every scratch, every slight misalignment, every doubled image tells a story of the machinery, the human oversight, and the technological experimentation that defined the U.S. Mint's evolution. Collectors often spend years hunting through rolls, bags, and estate collections, hoping to find a coin like this, a small metallic miracle that transforms an ordinary penny into a national treasure. And beyond its numismatic worth, it carries cultural and educational significance, teaching us about the art of minting, the unpredictability of mechanical precision, and the power of attention to detail. When you examine such a coin closely under magnification, it's almost like peering through a window into the Mint's workshop in 1973, hearing the rhythmic strikes of the presses and feeling the meticulous yet fallible process that gave birth to billions of cents, yet one or two emerged as masterpieces of imperfection. That's what makes the world of rare coins so magical. It's not just metal and numbers, it's stories, mystery, and the thrill of discovery. The coin's value has been confirmed through auction results and collector sales, with experts suggesting that as fewer high-grade specimens remain unaccounted for, prices will only rise in coming years. In the numismatic community, such coins are often discussed alongside legends like the 1955 double-die penny, the 1969 double-die obverse, and the 1943 copper penny, all of which owe their value to the same combination of rarity, error, and historical context. For the 1973 no-mint mark penny, its value continues to fascinate because each surviving example seems to tell a slightly different story, some showing doubling on the date, others on the motto, some struck slightly off-center, others revealing faint planchet laminations or ghost images from die clashes. Die clashes occur when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving faint mirrored impressions of the opposite design on the die surface that then transfer to subsequent coins, creating eerie outlines like Lincoln's face appearing faintly behind the Lincoln Memorial or traces of memorial pillars near Lincoln's shoulder. Next, 1971 1-cent USA coin. We uncover shocking stories of ordinary coins that turned into legendary finds, where a single penny could be worth more than a luxury car, a dream vacation, or even an entire home. And today's episode dives deep into one of the most astonishing and mind-bending stories in U.S. coin history. The 1971 no-mint mark 1-cent coin that stunned collectors when a rare specimen was discovered and valued at a staggering $810,000 due to its extraordinary minting errors, mysterious anomalies, and nearly mythical rarity that make it a true masterpiece in the world of numismatics. Picture holding an old penny in your palm, a coin most people would ignore, dull from years of circulation, its copper tone faded. But what if that same penny is one of the rarest pieces of American history ever struck, a coin that accidentally escaped the tight quality control of the United States Mint and became one of the most expensive Lincoln Memorial cents in existence? The 1971 no-mint mark penny may look completely ordinary at first glance, featuring Victor David Brenner's famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and Frank Gasparo's detailed depiction of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But the truth hidden beneath that small copper surface is what makes it worth more than most people's yearly salaries combined. To understand why a single 1-cent coin could reach the astronomical value of $810,000, we must journey back to the early 1970s, a decade of economic transition, evolving minting technologies, and massive production numbers at the U.S. Mint facilities, especially in Philadelphia, where coins bore no mint mark. The Mint was under intense pressure to meet growing demand for coins due to inflation and increased cash circulation, leading to high-speed production that sometimes resulted in overlooked mistakes. In 1971, billions of Lincoln cents were struck, and within such massive numbers, the possibility of rare minting errors, experimental test strikes, and transitional planchet mistakes skyrocketed. The Philadelphia Mint, known for omitting its mint mark during this era, became the birthplace of one of the most intriguing numismatic mysteries, a coin with a combination of errors so complex that experts debated for years whether it was a die preparation flaw, a metal composition experiment, or a minting accident that was never meant to leave the facility. The most remarkable examples of the 1971 no-mint mark penny exhibit multiple forms of minting errors, including double die obverse, die cracks, planchet anomalies, and ghost-like images from die clashes, all combining to form one of the most extraordinary coins ever found. Some specimens even display signs of being struck on leftover bronze planchets from earlier years instead of the proper copper alloy blanks, creating slight differences in weight and tone. This compositional anomaly makes the coin more than just a simple mistake. It transforms it into a transitional relic that bridges two different eras of minting, much like the legendary 1943 copper penny or the 1944 steel cent. The most visually captivating 1971 no-mint mark pennies show extreme doubling on the obverse, particularly in the inscriptions, "Liberty in God We Trust," and the date, 1971, where the letters and numbers appear shadowed, thickened, or slightly split. These doubled features are not the result of post-mint damage. They are the result of a die hubbing error during production when the coin die received multiple impressions that were slightly misaligned. Such double die errors are among the most celebrated in U.S. coin collecting, and when they occur in a year with no mint mark, they become even more desirable. The obverse doubling on the 1971 penny is so dramatic in some cases that collectors describe it as jumping off the coin, making it instantly recognizable to the trained eye. But that's not the only anomaly. Some of these rare pennies display reverse doubling as well, particularly on the words, "United States of America, e pluribus unum," and the Lincoln Memorial columns, which appear thicker or slightly distorted under magnification. The combination of both obverse and reverse doubling makes these coins virtually priceless, since it's extremely rare for both sides to exhibit such pronounced errors. But doubling is only the beginning. Some 1971 pennies also show evidence of die cracks, raised lines or ridges on the coin's surface caused by fractures in the die. These cracks often appear along the rim or extending from Lincoln's portrait, creating striking and unique patterns that distinguish one coin from another. A particularly famous specimen features a dramatic die crack running from Lincoln's head through the word "Liberty," nicknamed The lightning crack, by collectors because of its jagged shape, and this visual anomaly alone made that single coin sell for tens of thousands of dollars at auction before experts realized it also possessed a double die obverse, pushing its final valuation toward the $810,000 mark. Another reason for this coin's immense value lies in the planchet composition errors. While most 1971 pennies were supposed to be struck on copper alloy planchets weighing about 3.11 grams, some were mistakenly struck on experimental or transitional blanks that had slightly different metal content, possibly intended for foreign coinage or for testing purposes at the mint. These planchets produced coins that were lighter or heavier by small but measurable margins, detectable only with a precision scale, and their color tone and surface texture differ subtly from normal cents. The rarest examples are those that show both composition and striking errors simultaneously, a combination so rare that only a handful of known examples exist worldwide. Adding to the intrigue are die clashes, where the obverse and reverse dies accidentally strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving faint mirrored outlines of each design element imprinted on the opposite die. When a planchet is later struck using those dies, it inherits ghostly impressions, such as a faint outline of Lincoln's face appearing on the reverse or parts of the Lincoln Memorial visible behind Lincoln's shoulder on the obverse. These clash marks are fascinating because they tell a story of the exact moment the minting machinery malfunctioned, freezing a second of error into history. The 1971 no-mint mark penny also has examples showing off-center strikes, where the planchet was not perfectly aligned between the dies during striking, resulting in an uneven design where part of the coin's surface remains blank. Depending on the percentage of off-center striking, these errors can make coins dramatically more valuable, especially when the date is still visible. Some of these off-center 1971 pennies show as much as 20 to 40% blank space, making them visually striking and extremely collectible. Another important factor that drives the value to $810,000 is the condition, or grade, of the coin. Only those preserved in near-perfect mint state condition, with sharp details, strong luster, and minimal surface blemishes, can command such astronomical figures. High-grade coins certified by respected grading companies like PCGS or NGC are the only ones known to have achieved these valuations, as they combine flawless preservation with undeniable minting errors that are both visible and verifiable. Even a slight imperfection, such as a small scratch or discoloration, can reduce the value dramatically, making uncirculated specimens exceedingly rare. Experts also point out that the 1971 penny was struck at a time when die preparation techniques were undergoing modernization. The mint was experimenting with improved die steel and hubbing pressure, which increased the likelihood of doubled dies during the transition. This historical context explains why certain years, like 1971, 1972, and 1969, produced some of the most famous double-die pennies in American history, but the no-mint mark version from 1971 stands apart due to its rarity and mystery. Another curious detail involves the potential use of test dies or pattern strikes. During the early 1970s, the U.S. Mint occasionally conducted internal tests for die alignment and metal hardness, producing pattern coins not meant for public release. Some of these may have accidentally entered circulation or been retained by employees, later surfacing as ultra-rare error coins. The possibility that the $810,000 1971 penny is one such pattern adds an air of intrigue, as pattern coins are among the most coveted in the collecting world due to their unofficial status and low survival numbers. Even more fascinating is how these coins have been discovered. Most were found by ordinary people going through old change jars, inherited coin collections, or penny rolls purchased from banks. The idea that a small coin worth 1 cent could transform into an $810,000 windfall keeps treasure hunters searching, and the story of this penny has inspired thousands to examine their own coins with newfound curiosity. Part of the coin's beauty lies in its understated appearance. To the naked eye, it might look completely normal, yet under magnification, the doubled inscriptions, cracked eye lines, and slight misalignment reveal its secret. Next, 1961 1 cent USA coin incredible discovery takes us deep into one of the most mysterious and lucrative finds in U.S. coinage, the 1961 D Lincoln 1-cent coin that has stunned collectors and numismatic experts around the world by reaching an unbelievable value of $700,000. A sum so immense that it turns an everyday penny into a once-in-a-lifetime jackpot. This is not just another old coin, it is a masterpiece of minting error, historical intrigue, and unexpected rarity, born from the Denver Mint in a year when perfection was the goal, but imperfection became the key to unimaginable worth. Imagine opening an old jar of coins, maybe something passed down from your grandparents, and finding a 1961 D penny so normal looking at first that you almost toss it aside, but then, under closer inspection, something about it feels off. Maybe the date looks slightly thicker, maybe the color seems subtly different, maybe Lincoln's profile seems shadowed, and that's where the magic begins. Because this small copper coin carries with it a story of minting mistakes, transitional compositions, double strikes, and human oversight that turned 1 cent into hundreds of thousands of dollars. The 1961 D Lincoln penny, bearing the D Mint mark from the Denver Mint, was struck in enormous numbers. Over 1 billion coins were produced that year, yet within that flood of mass production, a handful of coins slipped through that defied normality. These are the coins that show dramatic double dies, planchet anomalies, and die errors that make them worth their weight in gold, literally thousands of times over. What makes this coin story so fascinating is that the Denver Mint, famous for precision, rarely produced dramatic errors during that period, making any such mistake from 1961 not only rare but almost miraculous. Let's dive into what makes the 1961 D penny so valuable, beginning with its striking errors. The most famous and desirable of these are the double die obverse varieties, where the date 1961 and the inscriptions Liberty and In God We Trust show clear doubling visible to the naked eye. The doubling is most pronounced on the date, making the 1s in 1961 appear thick, shadowed, or slightly split, as if two impressions overlap. This happened during the die hubbing process when the die received multiple impressions from the master hub that were misaligned by a fraction of a millimeter, creating that doubled appearance. These doubled dies are not post-mint damage or mechanical doubling, they are genuine minting anomalies. And because they occurred so early in the die's use, they created sharp, clean doubling before the die wore down, producing coins with exceptional definition and rarity. But that's not the only type of error that adds value to the 1961 D penny. Some examples also feature repunched mint marks, known as RPMs, where the small D mint mark below the date was hand-punched more than once into the die, resulting in visible shadows or outlines of a secondary D. During the 1960s, mint marks were manually applied to working dies, and if the punch was misaligned or not struck deeply enough the first time, it would be repositioned and punched again, leaving behind doubled or even tripled impressions. Collectors prize RPM varieties because each one is unique to the die and reflects the craftsmanship, and occasional human error, of the mint workers of that era. Some of the most dramatic 1961 D RPMs show the secondary D shifted significantly northeast or southwest from the primary punch, visible even without magnification. These coins, when found in pristine mint state condition, can sell for thousands on their own, but when combined with additional errors such as a double die obverse or reverse, the value multiplies exponentially. In rare cases, certain 1961 D pennies were struck on leftover bronze planchets from earlier production runs or experimental planchets intended for other denominations or foreign contracts. These off-metal errors create small variations in weight and color, distinguishable only through precise testing, but their rarity makes them incredibly valuable. The typical 1961 D penny should weigh 3.11 grams, but some known specimens weigh slightly more or less, indicating the use of planchets not meant for that year's standard alloy. Such anomalies often go unnoticed for decades until an observant collector or grader spots them during evaluation. One of the most striking features on certain $700,000 specimens is the presence of die cracks and cuds, raised, irregular lines or blobs of metal caused by breaks or chips in the die. When the die surface fractures, molten metal fills the crack during striking, creating raised features on the coin's surface that act like a fingerprint of the minting process. Some 1961 pennies exhibit die cracks extending from Lincoln's portrait to the rim, forming visually stunning patterns that make each coin distinct. Others show retained cuds, where a portion of the die breaks away but remains partially attached, resulting in an uneven raised area near the rim, particularly above Liberty, or In God We Trust. Collectors adore these dramatic die breaks because they add both visual uniqueness and historical intrigue, and they also signal a rare stage in die deterioration before the mint replaced the die, meaning very few such coins were struck before the defect was corrected. The reverse of the coin, featuring Frank Isparo's Lincoln Memorial design, sometimes also displays striking anomalies, such as doubled lettering on United States of America, e pluribus unum, or the denomination 1 cent. This doubling is often most noticeable on the base of the letters or on the memorial's columns, where faint shadow lines appear. On some coins, a faint outline of Lincoln's statue inside the memorial appears slightly blurred or distorted due to die polishing errors or overuse, adding another layer of rarity. These features combine to make the 1961 penny one of the most complex era coins of its time, with multiple layers of value, die variety, mint mark anomaly, planchet difference, and visual imperfection all playing a role. But how does all this translate into a price tag of $700,000? The answer lies in scarcity, condition, and collector demand. Only a handful of 1961 pennies with this exact combination of errors and near-perfect preservation are known to exist. Most have been graded in top mint state conditions, such as MS66 or MS67 red, by grading companies like PCGS or NGC. These grades indicate that the coin retains its original copper red luster, with no visible wear and only minimal contact marks. Since the majority of 1961 cents entered circulation, finding such pristine examples is nearly impossible, and when you add an error like a doubled die or RPM, the population drops to nearly zero. Rarity alone, however, isn't enough to command six-figure prices. It's the story, the mystery, and the demand that drive collectors to bid aggressively at auctions. The 1961 penny represents a perfect storm of minting imperfection, beauty, and history. It comes from an era when the U.S. Mint still relied heavily on manual craftsmanship and die preparation, meaning every mistake was deeply personal and unique. These coins are a bridge between traditional minting and the mechanized precision that would come later, and owning one is like holding a tangible piece of that transition in your hand. Some numismatic historians also point out that 1961 was a significant year in coinage history, with the mint experimenting on efficiency improvements to meet post-war economic demand. The Denver Mint, in particular, was producing vast quantities of cents for circulation west of the Mississippi, and its focus on volume may have inadvertently allowed a few flawed dies to stay in use longer than intended, resulting in the famous double dies and die cracks that now define this coin's value. Another factor contributing to its high price is the phenomenon of variety attribution and registry collecting. Modern collectors often compete to assemble the highest rank sets of Lincoln cents by grade and variety, verified through registry systems maintained by major grading firms. When a coin like the 1961 double die or RPM appears in high grade, collectors are willing to pay extreme premiums to add it to their competitive sets, driving prices upward. In 2019, a pristine 1961 penny with a dramatic double die obverse and repunched mint mark fetched over $100,000 at auction, and subsequent discoveries of even rarer examples have seen valuations climb exponentially, with experts estimating that the finest known piece could exceed $700,000 if offered today, particularly if it combines multiple verified errors. Beyond its technical and market aspects, the coin's aesthetic qualities also contribute to its legend. Under magnification, the doubled inscriptions appear almost three-dimensional, giving the coin depth and character that ordinary pennies lack. The bright copper-red color of a mint-state coin gleams like polished gold. Next 1981 cent USA coin incredible discovery revolves around the 1980 no mint mark Lincoln 1 cent coin, a small, copper-toned piece of history that has stunned collectors and investors alike by reaching a jaw-dropping value of $600,000. Yes, you've heard that right. $600,000 for a single penny that most people wouldn't think twice about spending on a piece of candy decades ago. But behind that simple appearance lies an astonishing story filled with rare minting errors, production mysteries, and variations that have made this particular penny one of the most valuable coins ever to come out of the US Mint. So, let's dive deep into the fascinating world of coin collecting and explore why this specific 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln cent has become one of the most hunted and prized pieces in the entire numismatic community. The first thing to understand about the 1980 no-mint mark 1 cent coin is that it was produced in Philadelphia, the oldest and one of the most historically important mints in the United States. Coins struck in Philadelphia traditionally bear no mint mark, a detail that has both confused and intrigued collectors for decades. But not every no mint mark coin is worth a fortune. What sets this one apart is the combination of its minting anomalies, striking errors, planchet defects, and doubling varieties that make it so incredibly valuable. Among the most significant errors found on these coins is the double die obverse, which can show extreme doubling on the date 1980, the word liberty, and even the famous phrase, "In God we trust." This doubling isn't caused by simple wear or damage, but by a misalignment during the die creation process itself, meaning the design was impressed twice onto the die at slightly different angles. These types of errors are extremely rare and can vary in intensity, with the strongest examples being the most desirable. When these doubled dies are combined with pristine condition, known in the coin world as mint state, or MS, grading, their value skyrockets. Imagine a penny that looks brand new, glowing with its original luster, while displaying clear, dramatic doubling visible to the naked eye. Such a coin can easily attract bids well beyond hundreds of thousands of dollars at high-profile auctions. Another fascinating reason behind the high valuation of the 1980 no-mint mark cent lies in its transitional qualities. By 1982, the U.S. Mint shifted from copper to copper-plated zinc planchets, reducing production costs. However, 1980 was one of the last solid copper years, and that adds nostalgia and metal value appeal to collectors. Each 1980 penny was struck in 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, weighing approximately 3.11 grams, a significant difference from the later 2.5 gram zinc coins. Because copper pennies are no longer made in this way, collectors place an added premium on these older versions, especially if they were preserved in flawless condition or contain mint-made anomalies that make them unique among millions. Another variant that drives up the coin's desirability is the off-center strike, where the design is misaligned due to improper feeding of the blank planchet into the press. These off-center strikes can range from minor to extreme, with those showing between 10% to 50% off-center being the most visually appealing and valuable. Some even reveal a portion of the blank planchet on one side, offering an intriguing glimpse into the minting process itself. The more dramatic and clear the error, the higher the coin's value climbs. When combined with no mint mark and a strong strike, such examples have been known to fetch astronomical prices at auctions and among private collectors. Then there's the fascinating case of die cracks and cuds, imperfections formed when dies begin to wear or break during repeated use. The U.S. Mint, like any industrial facility, works under immense pressure to produce billions of coins, and even the most precise machinery can fail under continuous operation. When a die begins to crack, it leaves raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin, commonly known as die cracks or die chips. In some rare instances, a section of the die can break completely, causing a cud, a raised, unstruck area on the coin's surface. These are one-of-a-kind errors, and collectors cherish them for their uniqueness, sometimes naming them after their appearance, like Spiked Head Lincoln or Cracked Skull Cent. For the 1980 no mint mark series, large cuds along the rim or through Lincoln's face and shoulder have been discovered, and such dramatic pieces have sold for several $1,000s each depending on visibility and completeness of the error. One might think that all pennies look alike, but under magnification, the world of micro-details is astonishing. For instance, some 1980 no mint mark cents show subtle variations in the alignment of the design, a condition known as rotated dies. Normally, when you flip a US coin vertically, the reverse should appear perfectly upright. But if the dies were misaligned during striking, the reverse might appear rotated by 10, 45, or even 180 degrees. Such rotation errors, while rare, add immense curiosity and collectible value to the coin. Additionally, planchet errors like clipped planchets, where a portion of the coin's edge appears cut off, can fetch several $1,000s, especially if the clipping is deep and well defined. What makes the 1980 penny particularly captivating is its place in numismatic history. It was struck during a period of transition in U.S. coinage technology. The mint was experimenting with new die-hardening methods and modernized presses, meaning a few batches suffered from inconsistent strikes, resulting in weak details, incomplete rims, or uneven surfaces. Collectors love these manufacturing inconsistencies because they represent the quirks of that evolving technology. Each error tells a miniature story of how even a massive, high-tech mint operation can produce something unpredictably rare. Now, when we talk about a coin fetching $600,000, it's not just because of the error itself. Condition is equally important. Coin grading agencies like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, assign grades to coins on a scale from 1 to 70. Coins near the top of that scale, MS67, MS68, and especially the elusive MS69, are extremely rare for coins in circulation. A 1980 no-mint mark penny that's been carefully preserved without scratches, fingerprints, or dulling will be exponentially more valuable than one that's been circulated. In fact, one of the highest recorded auction prices for a 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln cent came from a coin graded MS68 red, a glowing, fully lustrous copper masterpiece, which fetched well over $10,000 at a heritage auction. But when combined with significant doubling or other mint errors, the theoretical price can easily reach or exceed the $600,000 mark. Moreover, the fascination with the 1980 penny extends beyond errors and condition. It's also about rarity within rarity. Because most 1980 pennies were mass-produced and heavily circulated, finding one in untouched, gem-quality condition is already difficult. Add a dramatic mint error to that equation, and you're talking about a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Many coin enthusiasts and metal detectorists dream of finding such a coin in everyday change or inherited coin jars. And while the odds are astronomically low, it's not impossible. Stories of people discovering error coins in circulation continue to make headlines to this day. The coin market is unpredictable, driven not only by rarity but by collector demand, historical interest, and even cultural nostalgia. Coins like the 1980 no-mint mark penny bridge generations. Baby boomers remember using them in the 1980s, millennials may have grown up seeing them in piggy banks, and Gen Z collectors are now rediscovering them through YouTube channels, social media, and online auction platforms. This renewed fascination creates an upward trend in value for coins with verified anomalies, especially those authenticated by major grading companies. Another intriguing aspect that affects this coin's value is its coloration, or toning. Over time, copper coins can develop beautiful hues of red, orange, purple, or blue due to natural oxidation. Collectors refer to these as rainbow-toned coins, and when the toning is even and visually appealing, it can add hundreds or even thousands of dollars in value. A perfectly toned 1980 no-mint mark penny with visible doubling or striking error can easily become a centerpiece in a high-end collection. Let's also not overlook the human factor, errors caused by mint workers themselves. Occasionally, improperly cleaned dies, wrong planchet types, or misfed blanks can lead to highly collectible varieties. Some 1980 cents have been found struck on foreign planchets, like dimes or transitional blanks, leading to underweight or slightly smaller coins with unusual coloration.